With the power of storytelling, you're sending out the message that you're not alone. And you're, with that story, you're embracing that human being. It's an invisible embrace, letting
Mm.
them know that you are not alone. And I'm here to share my story and what it took for me to be from point A to point B. Because maybe they're not there, they're in the middle, but they just don't know. They don't know where to go.
Hey everyone, I'm Angeline Constantinou, and this is Her Unapologetic Voice. This podcast was created for women who lead but are done leading from apology. Here we have real, unfiltered conversations about boundaries, truth, and confidence. The kind of talks that remind you your voice is not something you find once, it's something you build. Every episode will give you something real to take with you, whether it's a boundary script, a reflection tool, or simply the courage to say what you really mean. So if you're ready to lead from your truth, not from approval, this is your space. Your unapologetic voice starts here. Welcome back to Her Unapologetic Voice, the podcast where we break the silence, reclaim our power, and step boldly into we were always meant to be, and real, raw, unfiltered conversations. And today's conversation is one that is going to touch your heart and remind you of the power of resilience, reinvention, and healing. I'm honored to introduce our guest, Diana Gonzalez-Lehboub, a servant leader, storyteller, and the co-host and founder of the Life and In Between podcast, where she creates space for real, raw, and unfiltered conversations about life's transitions. Diana's journey is nothing short of inspiring. From becoming a teen mom and overcoming domestic violence to rebuilding her life, earning her master's degree alongside her sons, and now creating impact through her work, she is the embodiment of transformation. She is also the founder of A Healing Brush, where she uses art as a powerful tool for emotional healing for children in foster care, individuals with autism, and the elderly. Her story is a reminder that no matter where you start, your past does not define your future. Diana, welcome to Her Unapologetic Voice podcast. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me here. It is such a truly honor, and I'll be honest, when you were reading that intro, it brought me back to that time and place, and it just reminded me that so many things are so possible to do too. And so thank you for actually talking about a very important topic that many men and women are going through.
Exactly. Especially in today's world. You know, I just feel like in today's world, there are a lot more women talking about their stories, but a lot of them feel stuck. They still feel stuck. And I was reading a post today, not a post, but like there was a lady, a young girl commenting, I'll always be stuck. But those are lies that we are telling ourselves. That's a lie that we are telling ourselves, and we're not conscious of it. So please take us back. What was life like for you during your early years as a teen mom?
I will go a little bit further back of when I found my first love. He was my first love and everything. I was only 15 years old when I met this man, a boy at the time. It was that first puppy love, that first experience. That was the excitement and everything. With being young also comes with, you don't have the wisdom. Like I wish I had the wisdom that I have today back then, because this was a man that was very troubled, came from a lot of trauma, had a lot of experience, past traumas. And I had the thought in my mind that I can fix him because of love. He will change. That's okay. He's, everything. We're going to make the perfect little family. And so while dating him, and as mentioning, he was my first love and my first experience, I wind up getting pregnant. And I actually really, truly believed at that time that we were going to make it work. But unfortunately, his he had a lot of demons, a lot of issues, emotional things that he had to deal with. And so he was going in and out of jail. He was consistently unstable. And I was always finding excuses. He's going to get better. He'll be fine. Because you see the beautiful side of this man. I saw the beautiful side, the good qualities. And for some reason, you just kind of highlight those beautiful qualities and you dismiss all the ugly ones, like all the bad ones.
Right, right.
And so as a result, him being using substances like alcohol, that was more his vice. That's what he preferred more, vice and using other, not so much other drugs, but he did use other drugs, but his main focus was alcohol. And he was an alcoholic. I made every possible excuse. And when we would fight, he got physically abusive. But I always felt that he will get better. I just have to love him. Loving him enough, loving the children is enough. Until one day I try to get, we had that relationship. I don't know if you've experienced that or if our listeners have ever been in that type of relationship where it's we break up, it's over. And then somehow you get back together again, on and off, on and off. And so in one of those things, because I was so deeply in love and it was just one of those things. And I think I didn't have that maturity level to cope with all those emotions. I didn't know. I was looking at the best interests of my boys. And I said, you know what, I'm going to move to Florida and put distance. That's what I need to do because it's the only way that I'm going to be able to heal and forget this man. And so I thought that was a solution. Moved to Florida, not knowing anyone down there, just moving down there and relocating everything, brought my boys, and it got lonely. And he was calling. And yeah, you know where this story is going.
I know where it's going.
You know where it's going. And he comes down to Florida thinking, we're going to make this change. We're going to make it work this time. He promised me. He stopped drinking. He stopped everything. All these promises. When he came down in the beginning, it was like that. He did. He was not drinking alcohol. And I remember it was New Year's Eve. We were celebrating New Year's Eve. It was like New Year's Eve. And we invited guests to come over and he started drinking. He said he was going out to buy some stuff, more food, and he shows up with beer and alcohol and everything. And then he starts drinking. I was like, oh no, here we go down this road. And I confronted him. We got into an argument, and that's when he started strangling me. And I was at the point where I basically you could tell I was losing consciousness. But I remember the racing thoughts of that my children are going to become orphans and he's going to raise them. Who are they going to go with? It was like those last final thoughts. And then suddenly the doorbell rings. It was the first guests that were arriving. And that doorbell ringing kind of like snapped him out of that rage that he was in, and he released me and he let go of my neck. And when you're in an abusive relationship, you learn to master and mask pain. You learn to mask it, and you like make pretend like nothing's there, everything's fine, and the smile is always there, and you're like, so what I did was I got myself together and made pretend like nothing happened and invited the guests in. Hey, come in. The whole night, everything. He kept drinking, just went through the motions like nothing happened. The very next morning when he woke up, and the thing that was lingering through my head, that was my wake-up call. That was my wake-up call. Because why am I going? Because I needed the why. And the why this was the real thing. This needs to end completely because he is going to kill me and my children are going to be orphans. And my why was my children. That was my why.
There you go.
He was with a hangover and everything. And I sat down and I remember we were sitting in the living room and I told him, I said, we have two options here. One, I can call the police because I had bruises already on my neck. So it was that was intense. You could see the bruises that were wrapped right around my neck. And so I said, one, I can call the police and have you arrested and put in jail. Two, you can get the fuck out of here and go back to New York City.
There you go.
And he got out. He left. And that was it. And that was where I loved him, but it was that moment. It's really sad when I look back. That young woman that I didn't value myself enough. And my children continue to be my world. And it took that thing to know that my babies were going to be alone. And that was the turning point. And then that's when the journey begins, the self-healing. beginning to love myself, that self-respect, how to love. That's the rebuilding. And it's not easy. It is not easy.
Let's talk about that. How did you find the strength to leave and rebuild after domestic violence, after that horrific thing that happened? Because I mean, I was thrown against the wall and I was bleeding, and it was like, was rushed to the hospital, and I had reconstructive nose surgery 3 days later. And still, like for me, it took me a while to find my strength to leave and rebuild, but I laid it on the line. I realized that he wasn't going to change.
Right.
And oftentimes, like, like we're women, we're nurturers. We want to make things better. We don't want to have any conflict, but and we always say that love will always win, but sometimes that's not the case. Not in this situation.
No. I think the best way to rephrase, well, yeah, love wins. The love that you have for yourself.
There you go. There you go. Totally agree with you.
And that love, always wins, but you have to realize that you have to love yourself. You are the top priority. That's where it wins. That's where the victory is. The relationship itself comes to an end. You have to realize that, look at the good that came out of it. I mean, and honestly, the only good that came out of this relationship was my 2 children. That was it. Sure. The rest was like, and I learned, and it was the process of journey of learning more about myself.
Self-awareness and learning to love myself. That was huge for me. Yes. Learning to go out. It doesn't have to cost much. Just go to the park, go for a walk, take a yoga class, have your nails done, have your hair done. Just love on yourself. Take yourself out for lunch. And I still do it to this day.
Exactly.
I take myself out, and that's a form of self-love. Because oftentimes it's like there are women who are afraid to be alone, and then they jump into another relationship.
Exactly.
And it's worse than the first one.
Yes, that is very, very true. It's one of those things that, and it's a cycle that keeps repeating until you really begin to discover within yourself, and you have that love. And then because when you love yourself, you begin, I went out on dates as I begin to love and discover more about myself. And I dated. This is definitely not what I want to be, who I want to be with. Like, no, thank you very much. It was great meeting you, and you move on because you already know how you want to be treated and honored, and you already have that self-worth. And I think the other thing is, what I learned was the person, my partner that I'm going to choose to be with, is just the extra. They're just complimenting me. They're not my life, my end be all. They're not going to make up Diana. They're not the ones that define who I am. They're just the extra that complements my life. That's it. That's what happened with me. Going back to like the journey of self-love, it's little things. You start off with the little things. I actually remember I felt guilty, and until people started bringing it to my attention, I felt guilty buying essential things for myself. I felt like because it's like, no, my kids need it more. That money that I'm spending on myself, that blouse, that dress, or whatever, I could spend it on my children. They need it more. But then you got to realize, okay, you got to love yourself. And then just little things. It doesn't necessarily have to be spending money, but it's just that time away of just kind of like sitting and looking at what are the best qualities that you have? What do you love about you? What is it that makes Diana the person that's the lovable, person that she is? What do you love? And especially if you go through that self-hate and you hate things about you, how I hate myself for whatever reason, Right. Eliminate that negative connotation to yourself and just start focusing on the positive. What is it that I love more about myself? Right. I love the fact, because when you're in an abusive relationship, they are a master of like really breaking you down. They break you down because it was one of those things. Not only was he physically abusive, but he was verbally abusive. He was emotionally abusive. He would tell me things, you'll never find another man. You're ugly. You're fat. All these terrible things. And then you begin to believe it after you hear it over and over again. And then it's like kind of reprogramming yourself and saying, no, what he was saying was he's afraid that you are going to leave, find someone better, and you're able to move on. That's the thing. And so that self-discovery and just loving yourself.
Exactly. Loving yourself is key. That's the first step, and self-discovery. And I love your journey. Let me ask you this. Were there moments that you doubted yourself or wanted to give up?
Oh, yeah. In the beginning, it was like that. I think there was not a day that I didn't cry and want to give up. But this is where the part is, your why. And my why was my children. They were there until I got to the point where the why became me. See, that's, and you got to hold on to something. Because when you really have a very low self-esteem, you got to find out if you're not your why, you got to find what is your why. Is it your children? Is it your parents? Is it your a little brother and sister or sibling? Whatever it is, whatever the why is, that's the stepping stone to be able to continue. And eventually you will become the why when you start healing, when you start going through your journey.
Exactly. And what helped you rebuild your identity during that season?
I think, it was being exposed to more in, I think for me, at the time I worked at a preschool because I couldn't afford childcare. So I worked at a preschool. I was a single income by my, and so
Wow.
working at a preschool, the children would have free care, free childcare. And they gave classes, developmental classes, educational classes, part of the training in that job. That was the starting point for me. It started bringing, awareness of how to be a good parent, how to be a good, because it was a preschool. And so the proper training, how to identify abuse. And so when those were the things that how do you identify when a child is being abused, the triggers, all these things, how to maneuver, those training was actually a training for me, because even though it was related to the children, it was actually relating to me as well. I was starting to use that. And then I started networking more with other people and listening to friends, started listening to more friends and family, went back to school. When I started going back to school, I took, classes. And so when you start opening your world and you're not just isolated with this one individual, your perspective begins to change. So it may not be school. It may be for some people, church. It may be some other thing, some avenue, something different. But it's being exposed to something that is positive, that's going to help you grow and open your eyes. So in my case, working at the preschool, hearing these classes, going back to school, surrounding myself with positive people that are encouraging, that was what was helping me. And then hearing my children, which was the most beautiful aspect, was I was able to go to college and get my degree while my children were attending college. And that was a wonderful journey because we got to experience that together. Even though my educational journey was on a delay, but I tried to take out of everything the positive. I was able to walk that journey with them.
That's great.
That. So that was wonderful.
That's wonderful. What a wonderful story. And you earned your master's degree alongside your sons. What did that moment mean to you?
It was beautiful. I felt having that degree. God, this is so silly now. I promised I wasn't going to cry. I think society puts so much value behind an educated person. And I wanted them to feel proud to say, my mom has a master's degree. And it sounds so silly because they didn't care if I had the master's degree or not, because they love mom for mom,
Right, exactly.
But for me, it was that connection because society has such a stigma of, especially being a woman of color, especially having been married to a man that was, it's like I felt like I was the stereotypical woman, and I wanted to be, that they would be proud to say, yeah, my mom has an education, that they would never feel put in that situation where they feel embarrassed. And so that for me was like I did it for them.
There you go.
And for myself, it was kind of like a validation, definitely for myself, but it was a validation that everything that this man said that I was not going to amount to nothing. And I know it's just a piece of paper, but it was kind of proof to say, hey, look, I did. Look how far I've gotten. And I didn't have you by my side. Everything that you said, you were going to fail. You're not going to be able to survive. You're not going to be able to do anything. You're going to amount to nothing. It was like this piece of paper was the validation saying, I'm sorry, you're wrong, and to make my children proud as well.
There you go. And your children are very proud of you. It represents resilience and growth for your children. Absolutely. And be proud of yourself. You're doing it for yourself, but also, because I know my ex told me that you're never going to make it. Wrong. Look where we are today, empowering women. I want to talk about the power of healing through art. Tell us about a healing brush How did that vision come to life?
A healing brush. So I went into the corporate sector. I working for corporate America. And one of the things of working in corporate America, even though the money is wonderful, when you work in corporate America, it's great. However, when they restructure or when they do a reorg, what they call, be prepared that you're going to possibly lose your job if you can't find something internally. And at the time I was working for telecom company, big major one, and they reorg, and I was told that my position was no longer available. And for me, I had the problem where I would align myself to my role, and that was my identity. That was my identity. My accomplishments and my successes were through my role, through what I was doing through the company. When I lost this job, I felt like a piece of my identity was ripped. And what I started doing, because I was working with children in foster care, I volunteer for a wonderful, beautiful organization that's nationwide. It's called CASA. I'm a Dallas CASA advocate, and I advocate for children in foster care. And one of the things that I found that when I started focusing in painting, for me, it became therapeutical. It was a wonderful outlet. My father paints. I would see all the beautiful creative art that he created, and he did it in his most darkest moments. He didn't discover that he was an artist. It was by chance. He just picked up a paintbrush and he was going through a very, very dark moment in his life, and he started painting. I saw the beauty, the artwork that he created was so beautiful. And I picked up that paintbrush because he sent me all his paintbrushes and everything, because he no longer lives in the United States. But I wind up inheriting all his stuff. Like, I got all his stuff.
Oh, wow.
So his paintbrushes and everything. And so I had it, and I looked at those brushes, and I'm like, I'm going to start painting. And I started painting. And my little grandson, at the time, little guy, and he's on the spectrum. He looked at it and he goes, "Wow, Grandma, that's beautiful."
Oh my gosh.
It was like, and him and I would paint together for hours with him. We would sit there, and I think one day we actually pulled in 8 hours together alone painting. His attention span was just so focused on the painting. And so we would just paint for 8 hours straight. That's when the idea came, painting. And so I started using that with my Casa kiddos. And I started, they started painting because they can't, there's a mistrust. A lot of these children have suffered sexual abuse, all kinds of abuse. So I would paint with them, and they would feel better. And so I said, you know what? I want to use art as a form of therapy to help people that need as a form of expression, because it helped me heal. It helped me heal. And during that period of time, I connected with my grandson. It was his form of communication, having autism. And so I started working and painting with one of the centers that have the elderly, the centers. And so started painting with them. And so that's how it became, it just came to life. And so that was a healing. That was a healing brush, and that's how it was born.
I love that. And I believe that art is such a powerful tool for emotional healing. What transformations have you witnessed in the children and individuals you serve? Are you a local business owner in Stewart looking to get your brand in front of the right audience? My name is Angeline, and I am the host and founder of Let's Break the Silence, a podcast dedicated to empowering women to heal, rebuild their confidence, and step into their next chapter. I'm currently partnering with a select number of local businesses who want more visibility and deeper connection with women who are actively investing in themselves, whether that's through wellness, beauty, personal growth, or lifestyle. This isn't just about advertising. It's about building real partnerships and highlighting businesses that are truly making an impact in our community. If that sounds like you, I would love to connect. Please send me a message or reach out. Let's collaborate and grow together.
So with them, with like my Casa kiddos directly, they were painting. It was a moment where we would focus, and they would paint their traumas, and we would sit quietly talk, versus where they were being nonverbal with other people.
Wow.
They were not So as we sat there, we're like, oh, we're going to paint today. We're going to paint a birdhouse today. Or I would pull canvases where it had to. We're going to do
Wow.
a birdhouse. And so they would get into it and they would start painting. And then because, you're in that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that color. Just coming out so beautiful. I love that. With time, because of the consistency of visiting them,
Mm.
the walls began to come down. And I'm
Ah,
like, today we're going to draw so I would use different methods. So I would say today what we're going to do is we're going to paint a picture, and I want you to focus on our feelings, our emotion. I want you to draw something that makes you feel. How can I focus on happiness today? I'm going to start focusing on happiness. And so this will start a form of, what are happy colors for you? And I would start showing, this color makes me feel this way. How does that make you feel? And so it was a slow way of pulling out what they were feeling and not knowing that what they were doing. Yellow, oh my gosh, yellow makes me feel so warm and fuzzy inside right here. And when I see that, so I'm very animated with the kids. So I get really into it. So I'm like, this color, gray. Oh my gosh, it feels like a rainy day. Like, I kind of sometimes feel a little gray inside. You like the rain and all that. But sometimes it's okay to feel that way,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you think? And so this is how the communication begins to open.
See, I love art because it's a form of expression. You're
Yes.
expressing yourself. And I just love it. In fact, I want to do more of it. I would love to do more art, like
Yes.
in Greece, like I'm going to be traveling to Greece probably late May. Well, I know it's going to be early June for sure.
Mhm.
But there's a lady with whom I connected it's southern Greece where my parents were born and raised. And they do art, create art. I mean, to me,
Yes.
talk about getting outside of yourself.
It's beautiful. Please take pictures. I want you to share those when I want to see your art piece. I want you to paint. Painting is so beautiful. I love
It
painting.
is.
I'm very creative. So in that sense, and that's my emotional outlet when I need it, when I really truly need
There
it.
you
And
go.
I found that children, everyone can benefit from this, from the elderly to to young kids.
There you go. I love it. I love it. And let's talk about using your voice because that's so important and sharing your stories. What inspired you to co-create the Life in Between podcast? Tell us about that. Where was that birthed from?
So again, so I got my dream job, what I considered my dream job. I worked for another company, a big major Fortune 9 company, one of the top companies that you really don't hear about, but they're a Fortune 9 company. I worked in the inclusion and belonging space,
Okay.
DEI basically, but things had to shift. It was a company that was a lot of federally contracted, although they never said this to me. It was just basically they just needed to, my role was no longer needed. It was eliminated. It was no longer
Right.
needed. And so losing that again, like that identified to that position because I love helping because I was working with the employees, the ERGs, what we call the employee resource groups. And for me, it felt again, I lost another piece of me. I made that mistake again, identifying, attaching myself to a company because I believed in the cause, everything. And I remember a while back, I had a friend by the name of Jason, and I'm so grateful for Jason. And Jason, if you get to hear this, I'm sending you lots of love. Thank you for this. Jason said to me, because he saw all the volunteer work that I did. He a while back, he said, Diana, have you ever thought about starting a podcast and talking about all the volunteer stuff that you do? Because you really do great stuff. And at the time, because I was busy working, doing my volunteerism, I didn't have time for a podcast. And I was like, nah.
I hear you.
I was like, I'm too busy. I don't have time for a podcast. Now I had time.
There you go.
Time, and because I didn't know what was my next thing, I said I don't know what to do, but I can't stay still. I'm a person that I can't stay still. My mind has to keep active. I have to be. I cannot exist in being still. That's not in my realm, in my world. So call him up. I said, hey Jason, you remember about that podcast that you mentioned? What do you think? And he was like, well, yeah, Diana, I would love to, but I tried doing one with someone. He got burned and he told me the whole thing. And I told him, Jason, I promise you don't have to worry. I will do the majority of the work. I just need, I need your guidance because you're familiar with this. And he was like, okay, I will help you. And then I thought about somebody that I worked with this big major corporation. I call him my hype guy, Patrick, my co-host. And so I said, let's all do this together. I introduced them and I said, Patrick, meet Jason, Jason, meet Patrick. I
Yep.
think all three of us will make a great blend because I need to heal and I need community. And can you
There you
guys be my community? And they both said yes. And so we went on a journey, the three of us. Jason is such a talented musician. He creates such amazing music. It's beautiful. This guy's so talented. That's his side thing, where his passion is, but he does, also in the corporate world, he works in the corporate world, but his side thing is music.
Okay.
Patrick is a dancer. He's a speaker, coach, everything. And so he
Uh-huh.
dances and he uses his dance to work with inner city kids and everything. And I paint. And I said, what a great combination. We'll all use art, some form of art, to reach out and touch people. So I thought it would
Right,
be a great
exactly.
combination. That was how Life and In Between was born. Like that was all three of us started. And then sadly to say, Jason got overwhelmed with a lot of work and he says, Diane, I'm going to have to step back. And so it's just Patrick and myself that we're doing this. And we both share the mission of talking about the transitional moments that people go through, sharing the platform that people that have a passion and a voice of whatever they need, that whatever it is that they speak of, whether it's transitioning into retirement, the death of a loved one,
Right.
empty nesters, or whatever it is. And we bring these people on our platform and they speak about how to transition, how to cope and deal with it.
That's awesome. And that's amazing. What a story. Why do you believe storytelling is such a powerful tool for healing and connection?
I mean, this dates back to our ancestors. Back in the time, storytelling it's ingrained with us. I think it's within our DNA, and it's the way people can relate, especially now we're in this technology phase, because people we're disconnected. There is not that community. We're creatures of a tribe, that we need community, we need a tribe. But now with this internet and online, people working from home, they're not having that connection. And so this is where podcasting and storytelling comes. It's so critical and so important, because we have so many people that are right now feeling that they're alone. They can't relate to anyone. And with the power of storytelling, you're sending out the message that you're not alone. And with that story, you're embracing that human being. It's like an invisible embrace, letting them know that you are not alone.
Exactly.
And I'm here to share my story and what it took for me to be from point A to point B. Because maybe they're not there, they're in the middle, but they just don't know. They don't know where to go. And so hearing from different people, different stories, it helps guide. It's like a navigation. They're able to help navigate them. Storytelling is very important in that way.
I totally agree with you. And, like in the world we live in now, like back when we were kids, we went out and played. We did all these things, even, like I call it the 80s, the best years. We were out all the time. And now people are just becoming more reclusive, more isolated.
Exactly. And depression rates are going higher. And it's just like, and the thing is, I think this is my one thing that if I can just reach out, like on my podcast, if I can reach just one person,
right,
so that they don't unalive themselves, I did what I had to do, because that's it, and so storytelling is important. And that's why having different speakers, different guests, for me, it's important, because they may not resonate with what Diana's saying, but they will resonate with Mike, or they may resonate with Bill or Jane, or they'll resonate with you. I mean, so it's like, and that's why it's so important, the storytelling aspect.
The storytelling aspect, absolutely. And what does it mean to you to fully step into your unapologetic voice?
It feels like I'm coming home. I lost my way, and it feels empowering. It feels my safe space. I think it's a lot of, and I think maybe 2-3 years from now, it's going to shift and change. But right now, today, this is how I feel. Like, it feels really, feels like home right now. Feels good.
It feels good.
Safe.
I love that. Love that. And for the woman listening who feels stuck, overwhelmed, or lost, what is one step she can take today to begin rebuilding her identity?
I think the very, very first step that you can begin is to start the self-reflecting, beginning to love yourself. That's the very, very now. Granted, this is eliminating the aspect of being in a toxic and endangering situation. If you're in a situation where you You feel like your life is threatened, get out. Get out. That's the very first thing. But if you are out of the situation and you feel stuck and you're not and you want to pick up that phone and say, I want to call him so bad, I want to call him, or I want to call her, or
That
whatever,
emotional attachment, see?
that emotional attachment,
Yeah,
and you're like,
see?
I want to pick up that phone and call your best friend. Pick up the phone and call somebody. Call the radio station. If you have to call a radio station, say, hey, play this song for me, whatever it is, but don't dial him. Don't dial. Don't call him, because it's just repeating the cycle. What you have to do is, at that moment, if you're feeling unstuck and you're finding yourself that your thoughts are going, bring yourself back.
There you go. There you go.
Bring yourself back and say, okay, I've gotten this far. We're not going back. We're not, so just remind yourself. So yes, so I would say, do that, and then just really tap into yourself and start that self-discovery. Little exercises, just that, love yourself. Hug yourself. I've been doing this. I've been sitting in my computer chair, and I've been sitting here,
Oh, I like
and
that.
I've been hugging myself. And I've been saying to myself, I love you. And I've been thanking my ancestors, my family, my past loved ones that have passed on, my current ones that live here. And thank you for being in my life. I'm so thankful that I had, and just kind of being thankful, and then bring out the beautiful stuff. Thank you for allowing me to be empathetic. I am so happy that I'm empathetic. Thank you for being smart. Thank you for being compassionate, and then just acknowledging those, and always stay in the positive. And I know that's hard. I mean, that's I know for many people, like, oh, how can I stay in the positive all the time? You are going to go back to the negative. But when you find yourself, for every negative thought that you have, I want you to think of 2 positives.
There you go. There you go. I preach that all the time.
Yeah. For every negative thought, like, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, you gained so much weight. Why aren't you are like that's one example, and then you look at that and you say, you know what? I love your hair. It's so healthy. I love the fact that you are able to embrace and love others and be a great listener. And you know what? You need to start being a listener to yourself, a great listener to yourself.
Right.
So always take the positive. So you hear that one negative, I want you to bring 2 or 3 positive things, and that's it.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And I preach that all the time.
Yes.
And I love the hugging. See, the hugging yourself.
Yes.
I do that like over on my couch in the morning. And yeah, I mean, I had chills just doing it right now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because think about it. I mean, the problem is, I think people don't know how to self-soothe themselves and comfort themselves. They expect others to do it. Everyone is
conditioned. That's why. Yeah. No, I hug myself.
I have yourself. And they think that either food is going to self-soothe them, or they look for something. But you can self-soothe yourself with your thoughts, and just embracing yourself and hugging yourself and saying, I love you. I love you. And even if it's so hard at the moment, because it is, I know there are some people that they can't say. So if you can't say I love you, then say I like you. I like you. Or I admire that you are here today and alive. I admire that I am happy that I'm breathing today. I am happy. So if you haven't gotten to the point that you're able to say, I love you, replace that with something that you can say. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you can say, I love you, and say, I love me. I love you. I love you. And that's the journey. That's the journey.
And when I had a mentor, and this is right before I started my podcast, Let's Break the Silence with Angeline, that's in 7th season, now her unapologetic voice, 2nd season. Okay. So our mentor had us do mirror work. So like when I got out of the shower and then I dressed, I did that walk, do mirror work, like look at yourself in the mirror and say to yourself, I love myself just the way I am, and hug yourself. We did that. That was an exercise that we all did, because I wasn't the only one. So it's life-changing. It is
life-changing. And it feels sometimes awkward when you're looking in the mirror. I usually do that in the bathroom, and I'm like, okay. In the beginning, it feels awkward, but eventually it becomes second nature.
But it becomes second nature.
And then you actually, it's that repetitious thing. I also like to do this, and this is going to sound a little corny. I know. Okay, so listeners, you're listening. Don't judge Diana. And consider the possibility. Just consider possibility of doing this. I want you to focus when you wake up, one part of your body. just one part of your little body. So like you could say, let's say we're going to focus on this little pinky. Today's the pinky.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say, you know what? I love this little pinky because it helps me grab things. I love you because somehow, maybe somewhere some ancestors had a very similar pinky like mine because I got it from somewhere genetically wise. I love this pinky because this pinky is able to give me a full hug. So you're going to start focusing on that one individual part of your body. Then you're going to
Right.
focus on your index finger. Then you're going to focus on your middle finger. And then you're going to focus on, I'm sorry, this was the ring finger. I meant the index finger here. And then your thumb. Eventually, you're going to go ahead and you're going to have your hand. I love my hand. I love this hand so much because this hand was able to soothe my child when he was crying.
Right.
I love this hand. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start working all over your body. You're going to begin a cellular change, not only mentally, but your body is going to have a cellular change happening because you're being grateful and you're showing gratitude to your body.
Exactly.
You know, this without your body is everything. It is your temple. It is something that you should honor and love because remember, the fact that you can walk, what a beautiful blessing. The fact that you can see or hear or even talk, these are things that, or the fact that you can swallow and that you can breathe without the assistance of a device. Whatever it is, you just honor your body and work on little, and I know it sounds kind of like, I don't know, kind of hokey, but it really works because those are just ways of you just focusing on your body and just loving it. And before you know it, you're going to love yourself entirely.
Exactly. Be in tune with your body. Exactly. And yes, our body is our temple, and that's it. We have to take care of it. We
Exactly.
get to take care of it. And I know people, some people, they have to buy oxygen or they have to,
Right, exactly. There are people that I'm fortunate that I'm able to wear my glasses. My glasses were given to me, so I'm able to see and all that. There's some
Right.
people that can't even afford it. It's practicing gratitude, but focusing
Okay.
on your body.
Right.
Gratitude and loving, but focusing in on small minutes because the end goal, this is something that I just did for myself. I haven't read it anywhere, but I just done it myself just because of, but the gratitude aspect is eventually you're going to get to all areas of your body, and you're going to love yourself entirely.
Absolutely. Diana, this has been an amazing, powerful conversation today. And for the listeners who are watching or listening right now and feeling inspired by your story, where could she connect with you and learn more about your work?
You can actually find me. I'm all over social media. Like I'm all over social media. You can find ourselves there's my email. So you can find, reach out to Life and In Between podcast at gmail.com. But Diana Gonzalez-Lehboub, you can find me there. I'm all over. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me, and you can Life and In Between. Our podcast is on all the platforms. They're on YouTube, Spotify. And so if you want to listen to our podcast and hear other amazing guests that we have, because they're all amazing. And I got to invite you on my show, Angeline.
I'm honored and I accept. All right, ladies, for those of you who are going to be watching and listening to the podcast, all the links will be posted in the show notes. We're wrapping up. We're coming up to the top of the hour. If today's episode spoke to your heart, I want you to know this, that your past does not disqualify you. Your pain has purpose, and you can turn your pain into purpose. And your voice deserves to be heard. Diana's story is a beautiful reminder that healing is possible and that you have the power to rewrite your story at any moment. And you have the power to reclaim your identity. If you're a woman who is ready to stop, if you're ready to stop feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and disconnected from who you are, and you're ready to step into confidence and your clarity and your next chapter, I want to personally invite you to take the next step. Please apply for a breakthrough call with me where we'll uncover exactly what's been holding you back and map out your next level. You can find the link in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with another woman who needs this message today. Let's continue to break the silence, rewrite our stories together. And I'll see you in the next episode of Her Unapologetic Voice. Have a great day, everyone. Bye. Thank you for listening to Her Unapologetic Voice. Every conversation here is meant to help you build confidence from the inside out and find strength in your own words. If today's message resonated, follow the show and share it with a friend who's ready to lead from who she truly is. You can also connect with me on social media at Her Unapologetic Voice Podcast for updates and behind the scenes insights. Remember, confidence begins when you stop apologizing for your truth and start speaking from it. I'm Angeline Constantinu, and I will see you in the next episode.